What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back. Today, I'm going to unbox my latest figure from pop culture. It's the battle-damaged Thanos from Endgame. That's right, it's Hot Toys. I'm really excited. I didn't expect to ever actually get this guy in my collection, but the deal from pop culture was so good that it was almost sketchy. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about that experience, but let's also get this figure out of the box and take a better look. If you guys like this video, make sure you hit the like button for me, smash the subscribe, and let's get into it. So as most of you guys know, I am normally buying from Sideshow because I'm in Canada and it usually is the safest bet. This time I bought from Pop Culture, and this is how this box showed up. Double bubble wrapped, super taped, it was crazy. You can see the edges on this box are crispy, and it's a friggin' huge box. I mean, my hand, I'm a big boy. I'm over 6'2", I've got pretty big hands. This box makes my hands look dinky in comparison. But I feel like there's a bit of a miss when it comes to this box. This is a very premium figure, and the price point is usually quite high. But to be honest, box is kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's got a cool picture of the artwork on the front there with Thanos, and some of the the space in the background of the writing on the backside. But the underbox is extremely underwhelming. It's just a window style box that shows the figure in its clamshell with the Avengers logo on the back. That's about the only thing that I think is nice about the box otherwise, which is too bad. I do like opening the Hot Toys boxes that have at least that like art style slipcover, but that's okay. I mean, this guy still comes with 3 clamshell layers, which is pretty friggin' epic. The first layer houses the big sword or blade that he carries. The bottom layer has his very detailed rock diorama display base, which I'm going to show you guys a little bit closer up later, but here's kind of a preview. Now, one of the first things I always do when I get the figure actually out of the box is try its articulation. Not necessarily for an articulation segment for my video, but more so to have a better understanding of how I might be able to actually pose this guy. His head swivels back and forth, left and right, and up. You can see that he can look upwards, but he can't really look down, which for the height of this figure, depending on your display, that could actually be a bit of an issue. I'm going to have this guy on a lower shelf so that I can kind of see him looking me in the face. I traditionally like to have my Hot Toys kind of looking down. I think it makes them look more ominous. I can't do that with this guy. Now, his arm articulation is okay. He's got clearly the ratcheted joints, which is nice. I mean, he'll be able to hold up his big-ass sword, which is cool. But there's not a ton of articulation here in the arms, especially around his armor set. Am I okay with that? Yeah, for the most part. I mean, it's Thanos. I was expecting more of a power pose figure anyways, even though this isn't, I don't think, classified necessarily as power pose. I do like that there's the magnet inside this shoulder cap armor piece though, which is cool. And if you take it off, that arm gets a little bit better of articulation, so it's good to know. I like that it just slots right onto the arm though. Now, is it weird that I thought the head would be a little on the squishy side? It's way more hard plastic than I expected it would be, which, shows how well it's painted if you think about it. It actually kind of looks like a skin texturing. The helmet is actually quite light and slots over the head sculpt beautifully. There's almost no gap underneath at all. It clearly seems like a helmet that's made for Thanos. Popping his head off, you do get this second head sculpt. Now, I'll show you both head sculpts together here in a couple minutes. But again, the head sculpt is very hard plastic. The skin on the arm and the body definitely has a skin texture that's, I want to say, similar to Venom in the sense of you could tell that there's an underbody underneath and that there's a bit of an air gap layer, but it's tighter to the body than Venom. Venom feels more like he's wearing a costume when you bend his arms. Thanos, I find that the skin feels a little tighter to the body underneath. You still do get the bunchings in the arm from that material though when you do bend his arms past 90. So be careful about that. I honestly would be worried that over time that might crack. Now, something I will say that I do appreciate though about this figure is the material choice that they've used under the armor legs. It's like a soft cotton style material that definitely has a bit of flex to it. Similar cotton, I want to say almost like a spandexy material as well. Some kind of cross between those two. It's nice and it does allow for some flexibility. Now the armor is what gets in the way for this guy. The treads on the friggin' feet here are crazy. They look awesome. But again, you can see that he bends his knee, which is also ratcheted, but it gets blocked by the armor in the backside, and again, you get a little bit of that material bunching. Definitely not something you'd want to leave in that pose for a very long time. The rock diorama display base this guy comes with kind of inspires you to want to have one leg up and one leg back. But I'm not sure I'm going to actually want to pose him that way now that I see this. And this is as much of a splits that this guy can do. So he's about as posable as I am. Now the two head sculpts that he comes with, I think are beautifully painted. I wanted to show you guys these a little bit closer up, even though you've already seen a bit of a preview while being on the figure itself. The teeth, I think, are done very well. They look like actual enamel on the teeth themselves, and they're set in a way that don't look fake. Similar to like what we saw with Ant-Man in the past. Remember how fake those teeth looked in his mouth? This actually looks like Thanos' teeth, which I think is kind of cool. I also really see the likeness of Josh Brolin as Thanos, which is kind of weird to say because it doesn't really look like Josh Brolin, it looks like Thanos. But in this particular head sculpt, I really see the likeness of the character in there, and I can almost hear his voice, which is crazy. Now, he does come with a cool couple of nano gauntlets. This one can attach to a forearm and actually light up with batteries so that you can see the infinity stones on the backside glowing. The fingers also articulate. Now I would caution, be obviously careful with that, but it seems pretty sturdy, I will say. Like, it doesn't feel like it would be easily broken. Knock on wood, of course. These are the two nano gauntlets that you get. Now this is already a pre-posed hand that's missing the infinity stones. So this is obviously from the scene where Thanos snaps his fingers, then realizing that Iron Man actually has the infinity stones in his own nano gauntlet. And that's why you see that kind of surprised, shocked, sad face that we get with this figure. Which is pretty cool, and I like that they included it. Now, you can swap, as I said, the hands on that forearm piece. So, depending on what pose you want them with, if you're going to have them posed with Endgame Captain America Mark 85 battle damaged, then you're obviously going to pose them with that snap finger with those infinity stones missing. This is how the piece disconnects so that you can put the battery right in the compartment there. And the light is actually brighter than I expected. I thought it lit up the stones pretty well. You can see here, all of the knuckles are lit up. The back of the hand is lit up, and the green one, or I should say the time stone on the thumb, is also lit up. Now, if you're not used to Hot Toys batteries, obviously they're not going to last for very long. Even in the couple of seconds that I was recording this video, these started to kind of slowly get dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. So for posing, it's pretty cool. Obviously, we're getting into USB technology nowadays. I do think that in the future, this could be something that we see an upgrade on, but we'll see. The Thanos arm gauntlet comes right off at just above the elbow. That was something I was really nervous about actually pulling off. So I just wanted to show you guys what that looked like and where that separation is so that you can get this, again, Infinity Nano Gauntlet onto his hand. And I think it looks pretty cool, as I said, with the lights dimmed like that and seeing the Infinity Stones lit up in the back. Yeah, I'm digging that look. I just wish it would last longer. The freaking batteries in these things are brutal. Now he also comes with this selection of hands. I think that they're painted very well. You can see some of the detailing on the fingers up close. He has kind of like a shimmery speckle to him all throughout his skin. And I think it looks kind of cool. It also kind of looks to me like he's been caught in the rainstorm. But it, obviously is meant to have the look of sweat. And in the face sculpt under the right lighting, it definitely looks like he's sweaty, but I don't know why you'd want his fingers to necessarily look sweaty. That's a little bit of a strange inclusion. but it matches the skin texture, right, and the tone. So the paint job I still think is excellent. Like I mentioned earlier with this helmet, it is much lighter than I expected it would be. I want to say kind of feels cheap quality, but you also don't want a die-cast helmet necessarily on this head sculpt because you don't want it to damage anything. And it doesn't need to be die-cast. From a distance, and especially in photos, I think it definitely looks like it's made of metallic material of some sort. Now, the rock base here is friggin' huge, and I said earlier, it's detailed. You can see the water graining, you can see different kind of washes over top to make the rock look different, textured. It does have the dynamic flight pole hole in the back. Now, again, I'm showing what my hand looks like on this, but when you actually stand Thanos on this base, he doesn't actually fit very well. Thanos' feet are freaking huge. When the rock diorama is posed in front of him, I think it looks pretty good, and it's got some weight to it, that's for sure. I mean, you could use this as a rock paperweight just by itself. And when stood up, it's nearly half the size of the figure. But the pads on the bottom, like with the base where you'd actually try and stand him on, is kind of small. That's why I was alluding to the fact earlier that there might be some poses where you could definitely see Thanos stepping up onto the rock, so he still has 2 points of contact, so it's still relatively stable, but he doesn't fit very well. So to be honest with you, I don't think I'm actually going to ever use this rock base with Thanos specifically. But moving on, I do love the way this blade in particular has been painted and weathered. I think it looks fantastic. You can see that there's like a sharpening edge on it, that it actually looks like it's been sharpened on both sides. I think looks fantastic. I like that one side of the blade is broken. I think that looks really, really cool. Also, some of the patterning in what looks like the metal. Now, obviously it's not metal, it's not die cast, it is plastic, but that's okay. He comes with a hand sculpt that does fit around. Now, I had to pry the hand open slightly, so do that really carefully so you don't wreck any paintwork if you do it. But you can see Thanos can hold this thing no problem, and with the ratcheted arm joints, it's literally a cakewalk for the guy. Does it take up a lot of space? Oh yeah, it does. It's cool though, and so it's kind of worth it. I think this looks really, really nice in hand. Now, they do say size does not matter, but I was a little bit surprised that Thanos dwarfs my Venom. Up till now, Venom was my biggest figure in the collection, and he felt pretty large. Getting Thanos in hand here, now he's the Mad Titan, he needs to be a big friggin' boy, right? He is quite a bit bigger than the Venom figure, and does it detract from my likeness of either? No. It kind of makes me wish Venom was actually a little bit bulkier, especially with how large they've made the Carnage figure. To me, it almost makes me feel like the Venom is actually undersized. When you compare, though, Thanos to Endgame Captain America, I think the size for Thanos is perfect. I mean, look at the size difference. Captain America, in perspective, is one of my biggest normal scale figures. He's very broad, very large shoulders, and he makes some of my other figures look kind of puny. Thanos makes them look tiny as fuck. Now, again, seeing Thanos posed up with his sword, I think is really, really cool. What I will tell you guys is that, again, I got this from Pop Culture. Now, the reason I mention it is, of course, I'm not selling for Pop Culture. I get no benefit from them whatsoever. I'm not banging them. I purchased this figure for my own review and for my own collection, and I wanted to share it with you guys. But because I'm a Canadian collector, I typically can only ever buy from Sideshow comfortably. And Pop Culture recently had a sale on for 20% off, and with shipping, I got this guy for $322 shipped. That's crazy. On Sideshow, this guy would go for nearly $700 once I pay for the Canadian conversion, customs fees, and shipping, and all the good stuff. I would definitely recommend checking out Pop Culture at some point for a figure. Now, will you have the exact same experience as me? I can't honestly say with confidence. I've only bought there once. So, take it with a grain of salt, of course. But I will say I had an amazing experience, and paying nearly half price for this guy made it that I could actually justify getting him in my collection, and I loved it. And ultimately, even in customs, I only paid $22. So for less than $350 all in Canadian, I was able to get this guy in hand. But what are your thoughts of the figure? Do you love him? Do you want him? Are you looking for him? Are you like me and we're waiting for the bargain bin price on this guy? Yeah, it was worth it in my opinion to wait. But I'd love to hear from you guys down below. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, smash the subscribe for me, and I'll catch you guys on the next figure review video.